All right, so this is roughly how I write exams. And this doesn't, this is how I write exams in general, not necessarily for this class, but basically all exams go this way. So what I have to assess is, do you know the stuff we talked about, and are you going to succeed in the next class past this one, right? So what that means is I have to go through the content that we've looked at.
Are you okay?
So these are the constraints. It has to cover what we've talked about. Right? Duh?
No.
Okay. It has to be doable
See, that's what we're all.
in a reasonable time. Right? Which means don't expect 400 questions, because I know that you guys can't do 400 questions in an hour.
But can you also not give us the ones that you say, these are fun, because they're not fun.
Yeah, and also that's fair, right?
Well, you could get like 2 of those and give. and-
Because it has to assess like appropriate difficulty. So appropriate difficulty is maybe the thing you guys are most concerned with. Doable at a reasonable time makes it roughly 10 questions. What do you mean holy?
That's like nothing compared to cat.
Yeah, there's like 10 questions. Some of them might have more parts, but the parts aren't to trip you up more. They're to give you more opportunities to get stuff right.
They're like giving you stature.
Because it, like, envision the dumbing down of this, right? If I ask you one question
Yeah. And you get it wrong, then you just.
and you
bomb it.
forget that thing,
Yeah.
right, then you're screwed. So I ask you more questions to give you more opportunities, not to dork you up. And I don't ask A leads to B that leads to C that leads to D, because if you get A wrong, you can't prove to me that you know how to do any of the rest. You guys see that? So if you don't know how to do part A, the answer for part A probably isn't going to affect part B much. You guys see that? Okay, so that's kind of reasonable timing. Now, appropriate difficulty means that I have to kind of gauge those 10 questions into reasonable categories, right?
It's easy, medium.
Yeah. They should be A, B, C, and D level, right? D level should be, were you in class and breathing?
Oh, God.
Right? These are questions like, can you evaluate this function? Can you solve this equation? Like stuff that pre-calculus wise is not pre-calculus questions, right? So for you guys, these D level questions are like algebra 2 questions. For algebra 2 students, the D level questions are algebra 1 questions. The algebra 1 questions students, the D level questions are pre-algebra questions, right? They're all from the last class. What are C level questions?
Basic stuff in this class.
Yeah, stuff that I need you to know, right? Like these are to assess, can you do the basics?
You know what a function is.
So for you guys, these are going to be slightly concept-driven things. Like, let's see, what have we talked about so far? So far we've talked about functions a lot, right?
Yeah.
So for you guys, C-level functions are going to be, can you draw a bubble diagram? Can you construct an inverse? Right? Aw, shit. You better be able to construct an inverse. Can you shift this graph around in reasonable ways that are like easy, like one-step shifting? Those are C things. There will be about 2D things, right? Like 5 C things.
2B and 1A.
No. Why do you have to be?
Let me change that. There will be about 1D thing, like were you alive? There'll be 5 C things, give or take 3 B things, and 1 A thing. So B things are, I mean, C are like easy, straightforward.
B is like multi-layered, but still easy.
Yeah, so B is multi-step / slightly confusing.
They're all confusing.
So things that you guys usually think are slightly confusing are like word problems are usually B level, right? Because there's usually at least a couple of steps and usually there are words, so words are usually a little confusing. It takes a little effort actually to write a C level word problem. But you guys have some practice with word problems, so an easy word problem might be C level for you guys. For Algebra 2 classes, word problems are always B level. You guys see that?
Does that say slightly what?
Confusing.
Oh.
See, it was confusing, right?
Because of words.
So multi-step, slightly confusing. For you guys, that might be things like shifting, right? With like 7 steps or something. Like a whole massive shifting. Or a couple shifts before the rule, right? Those things are slightly confusing. You guys see that? What's an A-level thing look like in here?
A fun one.
The raptor problem.
Yeah, these are things that I say, ooh, fun. Right? Like if I'm saying, ooh, fun, what I mean is,
Which true.
this is a concept-driven question that takes some, right? You guys aren't necessarily screwed. I think lots of you guys can,
Yeah, I think.
lots of you guys can at least give these a try.
Can we earn points off that? Or like if A is out of 4 points, can we earn like 2 out of 4 on A?
Yeah, so these are 10 things, right? I said there's basically 10 questions.
Yeah.
That means each question is 10 points, give or take, right?
Okay.
I
Okay,
expect
okay.
that all of you guys will probably get a couple of points on the A-level question.
At least.
You write something down.
Yeah.
The easiest way to fail one of my tests is to leave stuff blank. Don't leave anything blank. That's dumb. Cool?
Cool.
Does this clarify at least a little bit?
Yeah, it does. Totally.
So if you want to have a chance to do this, you can go try to write a practice exam. Like go pick a couple of questions from each section and then call them out so they work in this way. And I'll gladly look at them and tell them if you're writing something that's about the same as what I would write. What I don't do and what I know I can't do from an education standpoint is I know I cannot make a test out of 10 ooh fun questions. Okay, so don't expect that. It's not going to happen. I have to write some boring questions.
Maybe that could be like an extra credit test.
So is this a test like on all the sections?
This is a test on all the sections that we've talked about so far.
And that's going to include 4.3 and 4.2.
Yeah, which is going to include some exponential stuff, but I kind of expected you to know it anyway.
Right, yeah.